Welcome to yet another episode on Alphos e-learning platform. I am J. Madan Paul in front of you with a story from Senior Intermediate English, Telangana Board. Welcome to this episode, the fifth short story given in Senior Intermediate English textbook, titled Don't Die Hilton, Don't Die. This is a touching story of a 12-year-old girl whose bravery is outstanding. Students, you might have heard that on 26th January, National Bravery Awards are given away. That day we find many girls and boys coming and receiving the Bravery Awards. Students, risking one's life and trying to save the life of another person, risking own life and trying to save others, is a supreme sacrifice. Here we come across a girl of 12 years old who risks her life to save a young man from the clutches of a crocodile. Students, the story titled Don't Die Hilton, Don't Die is downloaded from Reader's blog on internet. The story begins on a bright afternoon in April month 1981. The story takes place in Australia, in a nearby place to Darwin. A 12-year-old girl named Petalyn Munn is studying in a boarding school in Darwin, Australia. An hour back, she reached her home. For what you know? For an entertainment, for a trip outside, because the long week of studies in the boarding school made her really feel disgusted. So, just to relax, she came home and she knew she will be taken to her favorite spot where she finds a bit of entertainment. Now she was going for a drive to the nearby tropical countryside, which she loved so much. That tropical countryside is a beautiful place, region abounded in wildlife, wild pigs, wild buffaloes, crocodiles, and a variety of birds. A blessed nature. And her parents, Robert and Wendy Munn, they were actually immigrants from Zimbabwe to Australia. And then after coming in Australia, they started a business, photo hunting and photo safari business. And what happened is, when Petalyn came her home, parents were away. But there was a young business partner to Robert and Wendy, named Hilton Graham, a 23 years old man, Hilton Graham. Hilton was there always as a good friend to Petalyn. Hilton was ready to take her Hilton always gave her the right support in times of need. They were good friends too. Thus, Peter Lynn, along with Hilton Graham, plans to go to her favorite tropical region, and there, very nearby, there is Palm Springs. And as offered by Hilton, they plan to have a barbecue out there on the island. This time, shooting a pig and having a barbecue. What do you mean by barbecue, students? Fried meat, grilled meat, barbecue we call. And this was their plan. So they got into the truck and started their journey. It was almost almost a long way to the spring, to the Palm Springs. But that was a beautiful, beautiful environment, beautiful scenery where she could find full of solace and entertainment. Thus they move in the truck. Hilton drives her in the truck. All the way she was happy. It was in the bright afternoon. In a short while they reached there, and then they began moving towards the island side. Island we call because Palm Springs was surrounded by marsh, swamp area, and there was only one track through which the truck or vehicles could move. Thus they moved towards the Palm Springs, which was surrounded by all marshland, and there they reached. Through the narrow strip the truck moves, and then the truck was stopped. Peter Lynn got out along with Hilton. They stopped under the clearing of a banyan tree, and there they had kept their airboat. They picked the airboat and began pushing it into the shallow water. Hilton, almost a tall and strong man, he slowly moved it into. He had his rifle strung on a strap on his back. It was on his back. Rifle he always keeps with him ready. Slowly, airboat was pushed into the water, and through the clearing, Hilton tried his level best to push it into the water because it was very difficult through the shallow water to make the airboat move. Thus, both got into and sat. They were enjoying the surroundings, the beautiful thick vegetation that was seen. They were staring around, and every time Hilton was looking for a wild pig in the hope of finding one, shooting it and having it for the barbecue in the evening. Thus by 5:30 they reaches the spot. During their trip through the shallow water in the airboat, at around 5:30, all of a sudden they felt that the boat was not moving because since the water was very shallow. Immediately, Hilton unstrapped the rifle, and then he clambered to push the boat into the deeper water. As he was pushing it into the deeper water, good God, the pistol from the unhooked holster slips into the water, fell into the swamp. The water was almost up to his knees. He knelt down and was groping in the water, around in the muddy bottom. He was groping for it. Peter Lynn said, "Okay, you look for it. I will tie the boat there and I will join you." Telling so, she was just moving beside a few meters of the bank. As he was groping, Hilton was groping for his rifle, which dropped into the water. Splash! Hilton was shocked by a sudden sound from his back. From behind, Hilton turned and looked at, good God, straight into the open jaws of a crocodile, nearly 4 meters long crocodile in front of him with jaws open like a giant trap. Before he could move, he, in a self-protection, he just stretched his left arm in a gesture of defense. But the next moment, the crocodile snapped his teeth together, and good God, the left arm was in the mouth of the crocodile. He felt burning pain shooting up in his arm. Then there was a test of strength, a tug of war. The crocodile, with all its power, was pulling him inside. It was trying to roll over in the water, and Hilton was trying to release its hold, and he was gasping in anguish. And then turning towards, he cried, Petalin, help me, help me. He cried to the girl who was moving on to the bank. For a while, Petalin, who heard this, turned and looked at. She was stunned to see. With horror, she stood there looking at. A despairing thought flashed in her mind. Good God, what could a girl do alone? A 12-year-old girl, what could she do at this moment? Hilton, who fell in the water, his left arm being in the snap of the teeth of the crocodile, for a while tried to straighten him, and then thrashed wildly, trying to save his hand from the reptile's hold. And somehow the tightened arm could not be released. Blood began gushing. Now, in the next attempt, somehow the crocodile opened its jaw and he fell back. But what to say? The animal vigorously than before, now began moving forward, lashing its tail, and this time it opened its jaws and gripped on the right thigh of Hilton. Good God, in the shallow water, muddy water, blood began gushing out both from his forearm and from his right thigh. The grip was so strong that he could not pull him away, and there was a tug of war now between the crocodile and Hilton. It was a tug of war. You know, crocodiles always, after getting its prey, tries to roll over in the water and pull the prey, the victim, into the deeper water. Yes, Hilton understood. It's the time that he should act. His feet, he tried to firm in the mud, but it was slipping. He could not do anything. He was sure that he was gradually getting slipped into the deeper water and deeper water, unable to stand by himself because of the strong fight from the crocodile. He screamed, looking at Peta, come, hold me, grab hold. He cried, he screamed to Petalin, who was in horror-stricken for some time, now lost her fear. She quickly moved forward and then rushed into the water, calling, Hilton, hang on, I am coming, I will help you. She rushed into the water, and the water was almost up to her knees, but she did not mind it. She moved forward, and then coming closer, she grabbed on his arm. She planted her feet very strong and firm in the marsh water and tried to pull him. It was a tug of war between the strength of the crocodile and the strength of Petalin. It was a tug of war that went on for some time. She tried to anchor herself in the water very well. If she loses the hold, the crocodile will no doubt take both of them into the deeper water, and then nothing can be done. Out of the deeper water, this time the crocodile was splashing with renewed fury, renewed anger, and was moving forward. Hilton's thigh, it somehow got released from the horrorful attack of the crocodile. Both of them being dragged forward and forward. Almost the crocodile was winning. The crocodile was winning the fight, winning the war. A bloody sight there. After 1 or 2 minutes, we find a bloody sight there. For 1 or 2 minutes, the fight went on, and even Petalin thought that both of them will be pulled into the deeper water. She was missing the hold, but she put her all energy and confidence to pull Hilton as strong as she could. But her feet were sweeping away into the water. She was losing the clutch, but she did not lose the clutch on Hilton's arm. Good God. Both were gradually moving into the water, losing the hold, and she for a while felt that there is nothing else, that both will be in the open jaws of the crocodile. The water reached almost up to the waist of Petalin. She did not know what to do. She kept her grip strongly. A vicious tug between, a cruel, violent tug between the crocodile and Petalin. Hilton's shoulders, neck, and then his face, everything was almost under the water now. He found it very difficult to breathe even that much depth. He was being dragged by the reptile, the vicious reptile. Now and then he lifted his head to take a breath, and then the next moment, good God, as if something happened, the crocodile opened its jaws and Hilton fell back on his head, and even Petalin too falls back. Somehow, luckily, the crocodile has left the grip. The next moment, she began pulling Hilton and moving forward and forward. "Come on, Hilton, come on," she shouted, holding his hand. The entire shallow water was full of blood. It was a bloody scene there. The blood oozing out from his arm and from his thigh. Blood oozing out from his arm and from his thigh was spreading everywhere, and blood streamed from his arm and thigh. They had just taken 1 or 2 steps. Then the crocodile once again began rolling in the water and splashing it. This time the splash was nothing but the crocodile made a grip on, tightened its jaws on the right buttock of Hilton. On the right buttock of Hilton. And the crocodile succeeded in nipping the flesh from the buttock through his khaki pants. But Petalin gave a sharp tug and the reptile lost the hold. The reptile with the piece of flesh moved off. She too fell back. A bloody scene there. Blood streaking out in the water as the beast was moving away. Two of them gradually moved forward, and Petalin, taking all her strength and courage, she tried to pull him away and helped Hilton to a tree, and almost 50 meters distance she brought him pulling all the way and made him sit there. Making him sit under a tree, supporting the stem. She gave him courage. Don't worry, let me go and get to the truck. She hopped through the water towards the bank and moved towards the truck. Yes, when she was 8 years old or so, this young businessman, Hilton, has taught her how to drive a truck. That became useful now. In an open country, she knew how to drive, though not very perfectly. That helped her this time. Petalin ran towards the truck and she started the truck and came as fast as she could, driving the truck. And then somehow she managed to hold and support Hilton to get into the truck and made him sit on the passenger seat. By the time blood was oozing out and he was almost falling unconscious but she gave him the strength. Hilton, nothing happens to you. Come on, sit here. He somehow tried to sit on the passenger seat in the truck. The wounded thigh on one side, the buttock on the other side, and the left arm hanging downward, bleeding still. All these made Petalin become terribly frightened, but she gathered courage and moved ahead with it. Sprinting almost 2 kilometers on through the narrow strip, she ran to the truck and got it and made Hilton somehow settle on the passenger seat. Then, with all her courage, she sat at the driver's seat and started the vehicle and began moving forward. See how brave the girl was in time of need. Petalin, a 12 years old girl, how wisely she acted in time of need. And it was almost 6:05 p.m. when they got into. From there, the next place where they could reach and get some kind of help was Channel Point. They immediately started for Channel Point. Oh, it was a few hundred meters from there by truck. So she started. It was almost dark then. It was growing dark, almost 6:05 the time. Hilton, sitting on the passenger seat, passed out. Passed out meaning, students, became unconscious. Passed away, died. Passed out, became unconscious. Yes, Hilton passed out. Petalin wondered for a while, what could she do? Could she stop the vehicle? No, she should not stop the vehicle. Instead, she took one hand away from the steering, one hand away from the steering, and tried to touch Hilton and tried to wake him up. Hilton, you are not going to die on me, are you? No, you are not going to die. She tried to give him courage, tried to give him confidence. Hilton could hear her voice and Hilton groaned to every word Petalin said. Yes, the groaning was the reply, and once again Hilton faints on the passenger seat. Just before they reached the Channel Point, he began to cry, don't die. She began to cry to him, don't die. Hilton, don't die. Petalin sobbed and sobbed. That is the title here, students. Don't die, Hilton, don't die. She was very desperate, but she moved ahead. Hilton was immediately taken to the house, but what to do? In the Channel Point, there wasn't anyone there. There wasn't anyone there. While picking, she went on encouraging him, Hilton, don't die, don't die. At the same time, gaining courage and strength, he tried to groan back, replying in a low voice, die, the hell I will. Die, the hell I will. But after reaching the channel point, she understood she should not waste time there. There wasn't anyone. And so finally, Hilton himself from the passenger seat somehow dragged himself out, came to the radio house, came to the channel point where there was the connecting point, communication link, and from there the radio, he soon rang up to Weltry Homestead, where they had to reach. Weltry Homestead was almost 70 kilometers away from here. So soon he rang up, see, we are coming. I am badly mauled by a crocodile and I want to be hospitalized immediately. Petalin is driving me, she informed, and we are driving towards Darwin. We are coming towards Darwin. Please send someone from Labelle to meet us. Send someone from there to meet us. Labelle Homestead, that was where his fiancée and her family lived. So from the channel point, from the channel house, Hilton rang up to his fiancée and informed the matter. And then once again they started from there. But before starting from there, immediately what Petalin did, the 12-year-old girl got a bottle of antiseptic powder, sprinkled that powder on the wounds liberally, and then got a clean sheet from there, linen sheet from there, and tried to tie the wounds, the buttock wound and the arm wound as well, the thigh wound. She tried to tie with this linen, tearing it into pieces, and then she started driving once again. Good God! More than a girl could bear in such a situation. Driving the truck, taking a man who is almost half dead, but she did not mind it. The only intention she had was her father's, her family's young partner, business partner must be saved, because he came only to take her to that spot. So it was her duty to save him. With an intention, I should get him as early as possible to the hospital, she began driving. So thus in the truck they were moving towards Darwin. And on the way he was completely almost unconscious. Now and then he did not open his eyes, but now and then there was a groaning from him. A groaning sound was heard that made Petalin confident that nothing would happen to. And all the time, now and then she used to ask, Hilton, are you all right? Are you still all right? Hilton, with much difficulty, used to answer, yeah, I am all right. At last, as they were moving, they found from distance lights in the distance. From distance, lights of some motor vehicles. Oh, it was Hilton's fiancée and her brother Henry. They were now coming in a Land Cruiser vehicle. And they were followed by a second vehicle also, because they had well pre-planned that while driving almost 70 kilometers, if at all a vehicle gets in trouble, so another vehicle also followed. 6:05 they started towards Channel Point. Now it was almost 7:45 p.m. by the time the Land Cruiser comes and stops. Fiancée of Hilton comes with the Land Cruiser. Immediately the two vehicles met, and Hilton was immediately shifted to the Land Cruiser, and Petalin also got into the vehicle, and they headed as fast as they could towards the Darwin Hospital. That was their target, to reach Darwin Hospital as early as possible. It was already 7:45 p.m. Driving all the way, almost kilometers of distance, at around 11 o'clock, they reach the entrance of Darwin Hospital. Immediately, Hilton was rushed into the operation theatre, where he was given 1500 cc blood, antiseptics, tetanus injection, pain-killing injections, everything was served immediately. 2 fractures were there in his left arm, which was snipped by the croc. 2 fractures there, and in his thigh, gaping wounds, and the buttock still bleeding with a piece of flesh, a lump of flesh as such taken off by the crocodile. All these were scraped, cleaned, and the dead tissues were removed. 1 week they waited to know whether there will be infection or not. Thank God. After a week, since there wasn't any infection because of the medicine served, they planned for surgery. They stitched the wounds now. For 2 weeks, he was hospitalized. And after 2 weeks, Hilton comes back to almost the normal life. Petalin did not return immediately to the school, but instead every day she used to come and visit his friend. And once he was almost normal, Petalin went back to her boarding school, but did not forget to be a regular visitor to Hilton too. Dear students, a wonderful, brave little girl, 12 years old, wonderful, brave little girl. This was the comment of Hilton at the end. How well she acted in time to save Hilton, a 12-year-old girl. That was her courage. At the moment, acting wisely. She was not a coward. Though at the beginning moments, a few moments, she was shocked. She was in horror. She got back her sense and began acting in the right way at the right time. Students, to tell the fact, Hilton is now fully recovered. Look at, there are a few scars. Of course, those scars cannot be taken off. Scars are there still. Now, Hilton has returned to his routine life. Even today, Hilton goes to Palm Spring Marsh, where this incident took place. But though he goes in the airboat, into the marsh, into the little island, he does not again search for the lost pistol, because he knows he should not do that again. Do you know, students, crocodiles are territorial. He knows. Even today, he has the tormenting scars on his body. Even today, when he reaches that point, that island, he remembers what happened to him that day. Every time these tropical creatures, crocodiles in the territorial areas, are silently, calmly on the surface of the water, on the still water, waiting for prey, watching. Students, cowards die many times in life, but brave people die only once in life. Live a coward or live in bravery? Let us decide. A wonderful episode of a 12-year-old girl who in time shows bravery when Her own family's business partner was in danger. She risked her life to save another life. Children, bravery sometimes does miracles to others. Let us be brave in our life and die only once in life. Never be a coward. This is an inspiring story of a 12-year-old girl who certainly deserves award of bravery. Here I end this beautiful story. Don't die, Hilton, don't die. The inspiring words of Petalynn to Hilton. Thank you very much.